Hey, it's Mark the Landlocked Surfer here, back with another SurfSkate review. Those who know me know that I'm obsessed with surfing, but since I live 8 hours away from my closest ocean, I have to find other creative ways to get my surfing fix. So I've been doing things like river surfing, wave pool surfing, pow surfing, which is essentially snowboarding without bindings, and most recently I've been getting into surf skating. And today I'm reviewing the very first surf skate I ever purchased, which is the Bureo Ahi Cruiser with Carver C5 trucks. The deck looks sleek. The fish-shaped outline makes you think of surfing right away, and the full concave on the deck has a more aggressive skateboarding feel with a generous kicktail and a little uplift in the nose that helps you keep your foot locked in when you're carving. There's enough there to nose manual on. These stringers and ribs that you see on the bottom side of the board help give the plastic a little bit more rigidity, but I'm not going to lie, this board is not as stiff as you would get from a standard maple deck. The Ahi comes equipped with a Carver C5 front truck, which is a little bit less loose and surfy than the Carver C7s, but they're great for pumping long distances and they do make pretty tight radius turns. This is sort of a hybrid between the traditional surf skate truck and a standard skateboarding truck. It uses a reverse kingpin to get that extra range of motion. Also, black and turquoise are my go-to colors, so it was nice to find a board that matches so well with my classic Vans that are still hanging in there after 10 years. So enough of that, let's get into performance. A key feature in a surf skate is the ability to propel yourself solely by pumping, and the Ahi does allow for that. I can get this board moving very fast without pushing, and the grippy wheels, stiffer trucks, and short wheelbase help it to accelerate quickly. On the other hand, with this board being only 27 inches long, for me being 6 feet tall, it means I have to keep my stance more narrow than I would typically when I'm surfing or snowboarding, so it feels slightly awkward going down hills or carving in bowls. Because the Ahi board is so compact, it makes it a breeze to bring it along with you wherever you're going, which is a positive because you never know when you might find that next super amazing concrete wave spot. So how does the Ahi perform at the skate park? This is a fun little board to cruise around, to ride around in a bowl, to get up onto some wedge banks, but to be honest, it does leave a little bit to be desired when it comes to doing more advanced tricks like slides. The wheels on here are the Roundhouse Ecothane wheels, and they're listed as an 81A durometer, but I find they feel a little stickier than that, a little slower, a little gummy. So when it comes to keeping speed, maintaining speed in a bowl, or using that speed to get high up onto a wall or a bank, it was a little bit challenging with this board. That being said, most of the more advanced tricks that I can do now, I learned first on this board. It is a good stepping stone board to get oriented with the sport, to get from that beginner to intermediate stage, and then figure out what you want to adjust from there. The short length of this board, though convenient, I think is one of the factors that held me back from getting that advanced level on the Bureo Ahi. However, because the board is shorter, it's the favored board of my kids and one of the favorites of my wife to use. You can see here my little shredder really loves riding this surf skate, and it's where she first felt comfortable riding on a surf skate instead of a regular skateboard. Between the shorter length and the increased stability that you get from the C5 trucks versus the C7, this might actually be the perfect board for someone who's starting out, someone who's younger, and someone who wants to adjust to get to that intermediate stage and maybe even advanced stage if you aren't as tall as I am. I want to go on the record and say that one of the things I love most about this board is the concept and the mission statement of Bureo. All surfers should have the environment front and center in their actions, and the plastic deck of this board is fabricated from discarded and repurposed Chilean fishing nets, keeping that plastic out of the ocean. So whether I live 8 hours away or not, that's still important to me and to the rest of the planet. One disappointing thing about this board for me has been the durability. You can see this chunk that's out of the center stringer here, and that happened from attempting a board slide on it, which probably wasn't advisable, but still this happened after only 3 board slide attempts. And after that was lost, the board did get a little bit less rigid. Also, you can see at the bottom near the tail, the very first time I used it, I was already taking scrapes out of the plastic on the bottom. So the durability of this board is not as good as you would get from a wood deck. The flexibility of the plastic from this board paired with the soft Ecothane wheels makes for a super smooth ride. It's going to absorb a lot of the vibrations that you would get from rougher terrain. The downside to this is that you lose some of the stiffness that you need to do things like pop and ollie, and that's a bit of a downside when it comes to more advanced tricks. My conclusion on this board is going to depend on what you're looking for in a surf skate. This is a perfect commuter board because it's small in size, it offers an incredibly smooth ride, and it's a fun board to ride around on. It's a good starter board if you're just getting into surf skating because it's got those C5s that are easier to learn on than the C7s. I love the mission statement of Bureo with the low environmental impact board, and this is an ideal choice for kids or riders who are smaller in size because of the size of the board. Things to be aware of is that the deck, being plastic, is less stiff and durable than a wood deck would be. This board is also, I find, less suited to more advanced maneuvers because of the size and some of the features. And finally, with the C5 trucks instead of the C7 and the smaller wheelbase, it's just not as surfy as some of the other options you can get in a surf skate. I mentioned at the start of the video that this is the first surf skate that I ever purchased. Well, it was the first of 6, so clearly it was the board that got me hooked on this sport, and it had a lot of good things to offer. So I would not hesitate to recommend this board, despite some of the downsides that I've pointed out in this video. I hope you found this informative, and if you did, and you're a fellow surfer like me looking for other ways to try and chase that rush, please subscribe to my channel.